said if I was richer, I'd still be richer. No, ain't that some shit? Ain't that some shit? And although that's crazy,
Good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
Are you sure you're Tobin Brinker?
No, I'm Tobin Brinker.
There you go. Got to turn that mic on.
I'm still Tobin Brinker. That's my name.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. So glad to have you with us this morning. We have got a full day today, full show today. So excited. Got 3 guests coming on today, but first, we got to talk about The Simpsons.
The Simpsons?
Yes.
I love that show.
So if anybody... We've been watching The Simpsons, although admittedly we don't really watch anymore because we just don't have time. But we watched The Simpsons from 1989 through probably 2010,
yeah.
Right?
Oh, we watched for years.
For years we
Love
watched
that
The Simpsons.
show.
Yeah, it's a great show. And through that process, they have made fun of everyone.
Yes.
They made fun of Aussies. They made fun of Brazilians. They made fun of Americans over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Homer Simpson. Made fun of everybody. Everybody. But apparently that's no longer acceptable.
They're not allowed to make fun of people anymore?
Apparently not. So there's an episode of The Simpsons called The Problem with Apu. Now, for those of you all who don't know who Apu is, Apu, I've forgotten how to pronounce his last name. Anyway, he's a character who runs the Quickie Mart.
Yes.
Thank you. Come again. And he's a caricature, right?
Yes.
He's not, he's the stereotypical, and it is negative. I mean, it's making fun of someone, stereotypical South Asian man with a lot of children and a beautiful wife. And anyway.
And he runs the Quickie Mart.
And he runs the Quickie Mart. And so people have had a problem with Apu. And Toby, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so, there's a guy who actually went and made a movie basically looking at this racial stereotype and lambasting The Simpsons for doing this and saying, that it's not funny, that it is demeaning and so forth. And part of it is not just the character, but the fact that it's voiced by a white Jewish man.
It's Hank Azaria, isn't it?
Yeah, Hank Azaria. And so, so there's a whole bunch of things that went into this movie. And so The Simpsons finally responded to this sort of documentary that's called The Problem with Apu. And apparently the elites in the media are ripping their hair out because they don't like the response from The Simpsons.
Just basically don't have a cow man.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you've watched The Simpsons at all, you
Yes.
will know that this is what they do. They make fun of people.
They do, and now they're making fun of this sort of political correctness that requires them, a comedy cartoon show, to, march in lockstep with the political correctness of modern-day society. And the way they did it is they had Lisa respond to it. Marge came in to read a bedtime story to Lisa, but the story had been completely denuded, right? Like anything that could be offensive to anybody had been changed to make it hardly, so it wouldn't offend anybody. And so as Marge starts to read the story, Lisa basically interrupts her and says, well, because this character is already sort of perfect, because they've not, where can this story go? The story can't go anywhere.
Exactly.
Right? And then looks sort of straight to camera, and of course it's a cartoon character, so whatever that means, but looks straight to camera with a picture of Apu in the background, and then makes a comment about political correctness. And, I thought it was a really sort of in-your-face kind of, look, the show is what the show is. It's comedy, it's funny, and we're not here to kowtow to the rules of political correctness. We're here to skewer everything and everyone.
And they do. And here's the thing that strikes me is that that there were a certain group of people that were really upset that it was Lisa Simpson who did the response, or they had Lisa Simpson do the response. Don't mistake it. It's Matt Groening and his team that made the response.
Yes.
They're the ones that create the cartoons, folks. So he created Lisa, he created Apu, and his team, he created all of those characters. They created all of those characters. And they say, well, Lisa's the champion of the underdog. Yeah, and they make fun of Lisa relentlessly.
Yes, they do.
Remember that there was an episode that made fun of Al Gore, and the book that Lisa was pushing was called The Irritating Truth.
Yes.
And, they made fun of her.
They did.
And REM was on the show, and they made fun of them. And
Lisa got the little boyfriend who was like this totally, lefty kind of kid, and
Yes.
she was completely bored with him.
yes, she was.
Because there was nothing interesting about him because he fit all the nice little pictures. And that's the same basic idea here.
So the Hollywood Reporter notes that Hari Kondabolu, who wrote and starred in The Problem with the Pooh, tweeted a response to the episode Sunday night. Wow, politically incorrect. That's a takeaway from my movie and the discussion it sparked. Man, I really loved the show. This is sad. No, it's not sad. It's what The Simpsons do. At GQ, Joshua Rivera writes that The Simpsons' response to a documentary is F you if I've ever seen one, and it's not even subtle. It's also completely unacceptable. CNN host Kamau Bell said the show's response was especially toothless, given that it came from Lisa's character, the character who usually champions the underdogs and is supposed to be the most thoughtful and liberal. Yeah, and they make fun of her relentlessly.
All the time. Yeah, it's almost as if these people are so grown up, they've forgotten how to sort of enjoy that sort of childlike humor that we can all get, from a show like this. And the guy who wrote the documentary, The Problem with Apu, he should be saying thank you to them, because now this is actually drawing attention. I guarantee you there'll be a lot more people rushing to watch his documentary than ever watched it before.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
this will spark the discussion, which is the right thing,
So the thing about satire, folks, it's supposed to poke you.
Yeah.
That's the point. And the Simpsons has done satire for 30 years.
And they've done it well.
And they've done it well. Now, the argument could be made that maybe they should, put their pens away. It's time to hang it up. But that's whether they have fresh stories. That's not whether they are offensive to one group or another. If you watch The Simpsons for any length of time, I guarantee you're going to be the butt of a joke at some point.
Yes.
Because that's just how they do.
Right.
And it's funny.
Yes. In fact, we could probably go and catalog. I mean, I'm sure somebody has catalog all the different groups that they've gone after and that they've offended.
Exactly. I mean, you think about teachers,
Right?
Mrs. Krabappel. And police chiefs,
Yes.
and fathers, and liberals and the EPA, and conservatives and the EPA, and monorails, and hi, I'm Troy McClure. I mean, let's
Yes.
they make fun of everybody,
They do.
and I love them for it.
They make fun of nerds relentlessly.
Relentlessly.
Millhouse.
The doctor said I wouldn't have so many nosebleeds if I kept my finger out of there. That would be Ralph Wiggum, and I know I didn't do it right, but that's
We love that show.
We love that show. So just lighten up, folks. I think if there's a lesson that needs to be learned by this current generation, and I mean everybody who is offended by things, is to lighten up.
Yeah.
If you can't laugh at yourself, the world is a hard place.
Yeah.
So Tobin and I are rewatching the Game of Thrones as we kind of show prep at night, and we've seen it so many times we can hardly pay attention and know what's going on. But there's a scene where Arya Stark and the Hound, who've gone through so much together, they get to was it the Riverlands? They get
to River Run.
To River Run, thank you. They get to River Run to get to Arya's aunt.
Aunt Lysa.
Aunt Lysa, thank you, and find out that she's dead. And the Hound looks crestfallen, and Arya just starts to laugh.
Yes.
Because, okay, what else? What else could happen?
Because everything in the world has happened to them on the journey there.
Yes.
And they finally arrive, and it's one more disappointment, one more death. And it's just, for her, it's hilarious, because what else could happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what she didn't know is her sister was inside. But, if you can't learn to laugh at yourself and to find humor in the mundane, life is unlivable.
Yep.
It's unlivable. So with that, let's take a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
Bob Vila here with my home improvement tip of the day. Medium density fiberboard, MDF for short, can be a cheaper, more stable alternative to plywood if used in the right way. MDF is made from wood scraps that are broken down into fine fibers, mixed with binders such as glue, then formed into sheets using high temperature and pressure. Most home centers carry 4x8 sheets, usually 1/2 or 3/4 inch thick. MDF is often a bit less expensive than plywood. It holds its shape, and you can use it for shelving, cabinets, trim, and moldings. It's best for interior projects since it doesn't like moisture. One important caveat, though. MDF contains formaldehyde, a suspected carcinogen, so you'll need to wear a respirator when cutting it, and until it's properly sealed with paint or urethane, it continues to emit toxic fumes. That being said, if you take proper precautions when working with it, MDF can save you money and reward you with good results. Get more info at bobvila.com and right here at home with me, Bob Vila.
Know your rights and responsibilities. You're a hardworking student. You've grown up here. You're striving and working towards the American dream. You're a dreamer and maybe you need to renew your DACA deferral. Now is the time to take action. On January 9th, the District Court ordered a halt to President Trump's efforts to terminate the deferred action for childhood arrivals or DACA. And now the Department of Homeland Security is now accepting DACA renewal applications. Now you can get free DACA renewal assistance from the Todek Legal Center. The Todek Center may also provide you with payment assistance with up to $495 in immigration fees to renew. Stay here, stay home, stay with your family. You're valued, loved, wanted, and needed. Get free legal screening and consultation, application assistance, and legal representation. For more info, search todec.org. That's TODEC.org. Or call for upcoming workshops at 951-943-1955. That's 951-943-1955 for the Todek Legal Center. And dream on.
The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is home to some of the best bargain shopping in the region. Citywear, Style for Less, and Dollar Tree, to name just a few. Friendly shop owners and staff are waiting for you to stop in for the many specials and bargains they're excited to share. The Tri-City Shopping Center is located just off I-10 between Alabama and the Tennessee exits in Redlands. Make it your home for all your shopping needs, and you'll know why the Tri-City Center is called the Mall with a Heart.
Donald Carpenter here. I'm the host of the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock. You know the number one reason married couples fight? Money. The number one lesson people wish they'd learned in school? Money. Listen, I've got over 20 years of experience in asset management and financial planning. Together, we can make the most of the money you make. We can take care of you and your family's finances. We can teach you how to build and strengthen a family financial fortress that can help protect you for years to come. We'll help you do it. Give me a call, 310-777-6777, and we'll help you manage these volatile markets and make better choices for your family's financial future. Call me, 310-777-6777, or shoot me an email, donald@f3assetmanagement.com. And don't forget to catch the Family Man's Faith and Finance Show Mondays at 3 o'clock on KCAA Radio.
KCAA Radio is proud to announce that the Tri-City Center in Redlands is our new home. We're fortunate to be located among some of the best businesses in the region. Among our neighbors are Ray Chiropractic, Brace Connection Orthodontist, Pain Solutions Medical Massage, Rent-A-Center, MVP Staffing Agency, Jenny Craig, Salon Centric, and many more. The Tri-City Shopping Center is located just off the I-10 between Alabama and the Tennessee exits in Redlands. The Tri-City Center is the Mall with a Heart.
Broadcasting more local radio programs than any other station in California, we are KCAA.
Are you tired of CNN constantly negative news headlines? Then come balance with Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. Tune in every Thursday at 7 for the podcast of the year Top 10 award-winning show, Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, and FM 106.5, streaming online at kcaaradio.com. Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah, right here on KCAA, the stations that leave no listener behind.
Words like violence break the silence.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
We are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. I want to let everybody know that there's going to be a memorial service, it's a vigil tonight. Recognizing that it's been a year since the North Park Elementary School shooting.
Yeah.
And it's going to be at Sandals Church, which is on Sierra. And for those of you who don't remember, it was a domestic violence thing. This man came in and shot his teacher wife in full view of the children.
Yeah, and she was a special ed teacher, and so these were kids that had special needs. And he shot and killed one of the kids, and then wounded another that survived. And when it happened, for me, the visual of all those kids being taken out of that school with the police and all of the inherent chaos around that, and then they shipped them up, I think, to Cal State, right? Or
they
no,
did.
They went, or to
well,
Cajon.
some of them went to Cajon High School, and I think some of them went to Cal State San Bernardino.
Yeah, and then they reunited kids with their parents. But what a traumatic experience for kids to undergo ever, right? To have a shooting like that on campus, and to actually have a kid that was killed as well. Horrible day.
So the memorial service for the North Park victims will be held Tuesday evening at 4:30 p.m. That's tonight, or this afternoon, at Sandals Church, which is at 3701 North Sierra Way in San Bernardino. A welcome reception begins at 4 p.m. And if you need more information, you can call 951-637-8800, and that's 951-637-8800. The little boy who was killed was Jonathan Martinez. He was 8 years old, and he was killed on April 10th, 2016. 2017. Wasn't it last year?
2017, yeah.
At North Park Elementary School. There's a typo here in the article. So this article is from the San Bernardino Sun. So I'm going to be there. I'm going.
Yeah. And I probably am not, because we have a very important package coming to the house today.
We do.
And so I have to be there to get the package.
It seems that our little girl's getting married. We went this past weekend and bought a wedding dress for her. There's a place, now they've got several locations. They got 3 Southern California locations. We went to Simply Bridal in Costa Mesa.
Yeah.
And you walk in and there wasn't a lot there, and it's a smaller store. I guess LA is their superstore, which makes sense. But we found, so Reagan picked some dresses that she liked, but and they looked good. I mean, she looked great because she's a beautiful girl, but they just weren't quite right. The consultant that we were working with picked a dress for her that was stunning. So within a half an hour, we were out of there with a dress that she absolutely loved, and the price was under $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really good. So Simply Bridal, and they're not paying me for this. Simply Bridal in Costa Mesa if you're getting
cheap
married.
And beautiful. I love the dress.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's now she doesn't want one of the big, poofy dresses. She didn't want a ball gown. She tried one of those on, and it was so not her personality that she looked a little on the ridiculous side. So, but it's a beautiful A-line dress. It looks good on her.
Yeah, I cannot wait for these weddings. I'm actually counting down. So yesterday was 40 days until our son's wedding and 53 days until our daughter's wedding. So we've got 2 weddings, 2 weeks apart, and it's an exciting time to be a Brinker. First 2 grandkids from that generation to get married, and they're doing the wedding so close together because my parents, who live on the East Coast, will be able to be there for both. And originally there had been some thoughts that the second wedding would be later in the year, but there was just no way my parents could make the trip twice. So my daughter and her fiance, being so kind and generous, wanted to move it forward so their grandparents could be there. So I love it.
So I am so excited to welcome to the show Dr. Thomas Licona. And I hope that I pronounced his name correctly. Dr. Thomas Licona is a developmental psychologist and educator focused on helping parents and schools develop good character in children. He's the founding director of the Center for 4th and 5th RS, respect and responsibility, or fourth and fifth R's. Like reading, writing, arithmetic. That's adorable. I love that. At State University of New York in Cortland, where he was a professor of childhood education for 40 years. His 8 books on character development include Raising Good Children, Character Matters, and Educating for Character, the Bible of the character education movement. He writes a new blog for Psychology Today called Raising Kind Kids. Dr. Thomas Licona, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you've written a book called How to Raise Kind Kids and Get Respect and Gratitude and a Happier Family in the Bargain. That just sounds too good to be true. It just sounds wonderful.
Well, of course, it's an enormous amount of work, and the progress will be slow, and there'll be setbacks because kids are human, and so are we. But it's a process that we can all undertake. One of the big things we need to do is try to create a culture of kindness and respect in our family. We can't control what's going on in the wider world, but we can have a tremendous amount of influence about what's happening under our roof. So one way to create that culture, for example, is to have a family mission statement, where you ask what kind of a family do we want to be, and you create a set of we statements that express your deepest values and virtues. Things like, we show kindness through kind words and kind actions. We say we're sorry when we've hurt someone's feelings. We forgive and make up when we've had a fight. We show respect by looking at and really listening to someone when they're talking to us. We say please and thank you. And that goes up on the wall and becomes a reference point. We review it at the start of the week. You refer to it when things have gone off the rails in the middle of the week, but it gives you a point of reference.
So what are 3 common mistakes that parents make?
Well, one is not being intentional in this way, but really being carried along by the culture. Screens is a very clear example of that. Screens have taken over family life. Everybody's staring at them. People aren't talking to each other. They're not having the kinds of conversations through which values get transmitted and character gets formed. So as a family, you need a policy about screens. How much time? Where are screens permitted? When do they get turned off? What sorts of things can you watch? What things aren't allowed? All that has to be a process of family discussion, and then parents take the lead, and you set a policy and then enforce it. That's an example of not just being carried along by the culture. That's a mistake that so many parents do make. Another is trying to keep kids constantly happy, thinking that your job as a parent is never to disappoint them. So a lot of parents can't say no, and kids are just kind of along for the ride as consumers. We're doing everything. They're doing all the taking, and we're doing all the giving. That's a recipe for producing an entitled child. And another is really not being authoritative as a parent, but just wanting to be your child's best friend. Now, obviously, you want affection and good conversation and a relaxed relationship, so kids will confide in you. But the parent has to be in charge of the family. And the research shows that it's authoritative parents who are very confident about their authority, not afraid to set rules, and hold kids accountable to them. The children have the best outcomes in terms of responsibility, kindness, and other virtues. So we don't want to be a friend, we want to be a parent.
So do you think that we've watched the American family kind of disintegrate, and not only from divorce, even in intact families, because there's the screen time and people are hyper scheduled, and there's not the connectedness, eating family dinners together, and our family was as guilty of this as any other. Do you think that's led us to where we are today?
Well, the family has grown weaker. I think it's become kind of like a little hotel where people lead their separate lives and pass each other in the night. It's not cohesive. There's not a shared set of values and so on. So we have to cultivate that in these very intentional ways. You mentioned the sense of connection. There are what family researchers call connective rituals. You do sit down and have dinner together, and then you have conversation where you share your lives, and you have a way of eliciting that conversation. A lot of families don't eat together because eating together is not a pleasant experience. But if you sit down and say, all right, what are our manners for eating? What are our manners for talking? And then you ask a question, that becomes the topic. Everybody gets a chance to respond to it. I start with, what was the best part and the worst part of your day? What's something kind that you did for somebody today? What was something kind someone did for you? What happened today that you didn't expect? What's something that's on your mind? Or to foster gratitude, what are you grateful for today? Our younger son's family begins dinner with a round of gratefuls. 1 or 2 things that you're grateful for today. So these are connective rituals that create quality interaction, foster meaningful conversation, give us a vehicle for passing on our most important values.
So besides these rituals that you can create in your household, what do you do when you have kids that are misbehaving? How do you discipline them in a way that still teaches kindness, so they don't feel that you're just being cruel to them?
Well, you want to give them a chance to do it better. For example, if somebody speaks in a mean way to a sibling, you say, what would be a kinder way to say that to your sister? You make it clear that you're asking for a redo, not to embarrass them, but to give them a chance that they know better. Now, if they've done something more serious to inflict hurt, you say, what can you do to make up for that? Restitution is a very important piece of discipline. When you do something wrong, you do something right to make up for it. What could you do to help your little sister feel better?
So
it's an apology of action.
And I apologize. We are completely out of time, but this it sounds like every parent and grandparent needs to read this book. How do people find you and follow you? Are you on social media? Do you have a website, etc.?
Yeah, my author website is simply thomaslacona.com, and there's contact information there as well.
Dr. Thomas Lacona, it has been a delight talking with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And like I said, everybody needs to get out there and buy How to Raise Kind Kids and get respect, gratitude, and a happier family in the bargain. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your kindness.
All right, so with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. President Trump is on Twitter this morning with a message. Attorney-client privilege is dead. This one day after the FBI raided the office and home of Trump's longtime personal attorney, Michael Cohen. The raids reportedly had to do with that hush money payment Cohen made to porn star Stormy Daniels.
Because this search was inside a lawyer's office, the Department of Justice had to sign off on it. In this case, legal sources say it was Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein who gave the approval. Now, Rosenstein, as you remember, oversees the Russia investigation, but this latest probe is separate.
That's NBC's Kristen Welker reporting from the White House. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is expected to apologize today for his company's data sharing controversy with Cambridge Analytica. Zuckerberg will be on a very hot seat in a Senate hearing today. He'll follow up with a House hearing tomorrow. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
It's time for traffic on KCAA. I'm Erin Brinker. In Murrieta on the 15 southbound between Murrieta Hot Springs Road and Rancho California Front Street, there is completely stopped traffic, so it's a delay there. Looks like it's about 30 minutes. In Temecula on the 15 southbound between Rancho California Front Street and the 79 South Temecula Parkway, there's stop-and-go traffic. So once you hit Rancho California, it starts to move a little bit. In Fontana on the 10 westbound after Sierra, a wreck is now along the right shoulder. And in Fontana, we have that ongoing work zone. On the 10 eastbound at Citrus Avenue, the on-ramp is closed until 6 a.m. on April 23rd. This has been your traffic report on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. I'm Erin Brinker.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Alvin Washington. Sunny and hot this morning, also windy, high 91. Clear, windy later tonight, a low of 56. Not quite as hot on Wednesday, but still windy. A high of 81, 51 increasing clouds Wednesday night. I'm Alvin Washington, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA 102.3 FM Riverside, 106.5 FM Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Disney on Ice presents Frozen.
Elsa? Do you want to build a snowman?
All the adventure, all the moments. Join Anna, Elsa, Olaf, and your Disney favorites when Disney on Ice presents Frozen, the show worth melting for. Tickets start at $20. Restrictions and additional charges may apply. Playing at Long Beach Arena this Thursday through Sunday and Citizens Business Bank Arena April 26th through 29th. Visit Ticketmaster.com for details.
KCAA, where every day is a great day.
I got 7 women on my mind. 4 that wanna own me, 2 that wanna stone me, 1 says she's a friend of mine. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand. Take it easy.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So the Arizona Supreme Court made a decision that, well, I think it's definitely going to go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
To the U.S. Supreme Court.
Exactly.
That they've made a decision that that DACA recipients are not eligible for in-state university tuition.
Yeah.
And the difference between in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition is substantial.
It is. And typically the way it's been determined, I thought in the past, was if you simply lived in the state for a year prior to enrolling, even if you were a foreigner, if you lived in the state for a year prior, you could then apply and get in-state tuition.
So no, I don't know. I don't think an international student the whole idea is that your tax dollars pay for your tax dollars pay for the tuition. Like that's the reason why it's cheaper if you're from that state. So I think that if you're here with a green card or you're here with a work visa, I think maybe you're correct. But if you're just visiting, you can't be on a regular old visa for a year and then like a traveler's visa and then get in-state tuition.
Well, and maybe I'm just misrepresenting based off of another state because maybe every state's different. I don't know. But my understanding was you had to have at least 1 year of residency before you could apply for in-state.
That's right. If
tuition.
you're a United States, if you're here, if you're legal to be in the United States.
Yeah.
But apparently, DACA's different.
Yeah, it's interesting though. I mean, these are kids that typically grew up and went to American schools. Many of them have been here since they were very little children, and to suddenly now tell this kid, hey, you don't qualify for this and you're going to have to pay this outrageous amount. This is definitely going to be, I think, appealed all the way up to the United States Supreme Court.
But I think the idea is that because the family's there illegally, they're not really contributing, and so there is this leeching off tax dollars. That's what I think the argument would be for those who oppose giving in-state tuition to DACA kids.
Yeah.
I think the opposite is true. I think that they are contributing to the economy.
Yeah, so interestingly, there are about 2,000 DACA recipients that are currently studying in Arizona public colleges, and this article says that their costs could double or even triple, and that they've been able to receive the lower in-state tuition rates at Arizona State University, the University of Arizona, and Northern Arizona University since 2015. And so it'd be interesting to note, what happened in 2015, if that was a federal court ruling, if that was just a state decision. I'd be fascinated to know how that happened.
Well, the difference is substantial. So the in-state tuition rate for undergraduate students at ASU is $10,640, compared to $26,470 for non-resident students. At Maricopa Community College, the in-state rate is $86 per credit versus $241 per credit. That's
massive.
That's a massive difference.
Yeah.
The full opinion explaining the details of the court's ruling will be released on May 14th. In the meantime, the court announced the ruling before then to allow students in the Maricopa Community college system and other state universities to have as much time possible to plan for those affected by the decision. Now, if you're a DACA kid, you're not eligible for financial aid, is my understanding, because you could easily leave the country and then the government's out that money. And so what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I know. I suspect you watch, because it's Arizona and it's right next door to California. I suspect you watch California say, come on in. We'll give you in-state here. Because, they've been so good about taking care of our own kids that are here. Just saying.
Yeah, actually, that might actually get significant pushback.
Yeah.
Because our universities are already impacted. Remember, we had that conversation with President Tomas Morales from Cal State San Bernardino, where he said that their funding levels have been stagnant. They have, there are more and more people who are wanting to attend the university, Cal State San Bernardino, but they can't. There's nothing they can do because their funding has basically been capped.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if it's only if it's only 2,000 kids, though, I mean, California's a big state. We could absorb 2,000 kids, I think, relatively easily. But would those kids be interested or willing to come to California to go to a community college? Because now you have the added cost of having to, because typically kids who are staying in state, it's because they're living at home or they're picking the school that's more convenient for them because they have jobs and whatever. So to have to completely relocate, there's a lot of additional costs.
There are. So it's going to be interesting to watch this. It's not surprising that this is coming from Arizona, which tends to be a more conservative state. So, yeah, stay tuned, folks.
Right.
Like everything else with the DACA kids, their status is up in the air. And I feel like that they are a political football. I really do. And it's not okay. These are people that you are doing this to.
So I'm waiting for the Trump administration to do what everyone was afraid that, the Obama administration may do, which is that once these kids have basically given all their contact information and said, I live here, here's my phone number, here's my address, here's all my details of my life, I'm waiting for the Trump administration to now begin to use that to say, well, we're no longer providing these extra benefits to you, so now we've got all this information, and sending their ICE people out to round them up.
Yeah.
And as soon as we start getting those stories, I think that's when the world gets set on fire with that group. I think that's when you'll see a new level of militancy that would probably get violent.
Think about So the one thing that I hear the people who are against DACA say over and over and over again is, well, they should just get in line. Well, essentially they have, right?
Yeah.
Their government, they were brought here as children, and I understand, yes, but they're still illegal. All right, but they're your parents who brought you here. So what are you going to do? So they were brought here as children, and their government said, okay, fine, you need to step up and we're gonna give you status to allow you to stay, but you need to tell us who you are and where you are, and give all the information. And essentially, we'll you do these things and we'll make you legal. And they did what the government asked them to do.
Yeah.
So that they could become full participants in the economy. Now, we're not talking about street thugs who dropped out of high school. We're talking about kids who were in the military, kids who went to a university or college. They graduated, or they're attending. So they successfully graduated from high school. And so they did what their government asked them to do.
Yeah.
And so they are not the criminals that everybody seems to think they are.
Yeah.
They're absolutely not. These kids, they went to school with your kids. I'm guaranteeing they were in your classrooms.
Yeah.
And whether you knew it or not, because they're just as American as your kids.
And if they got in trouble for anything, like actual contact with law enforcement and got arrested and convicted of something, that immediately disqualifies them. So these folks are going way out of their way to make sure they stay, off that radar and out of that system, because that's an automatic disqualifier. When people talk about get in line, my understanding is that if you were brought here as a child, that you can only get your citizenship and all that through your parents. So they have to get theirs first, and then you can get yours. And so, this is a complication that makes it really hard for a lot of these kids. Now, one of the most common ways around that, or at least the way I've seen, is that because they've grown up in America with American kids, is they oftentimes fall in love with and get married to actual American citizens.
Right.
And that becomes another contact point. So you have all these new blended families of one person is here, illegally, and the other is a citizen, and now they have to go through that process together, and that creates an added stress and strain as they begin that process. And so it's not easy. And I've had several former students of mine that have gone through it, and and I've watched and seen them struggle. And these are good kids who graduated from our high schools, went to our colleges, and are doing everything that you would want a good kid to do.
Right.
And it's really sad.
It is really sad. And what it will teach immigrant populations, if President Trump turns around and sicks ICE on these kids,
Yeah.
what it will teach immigrant populations is that they can never again trust the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And so they will be underground probably indefinitely. I mean, let's be honest. If the government says, trust me and we'll make things right, and then you do what you're supposed to do, Like you stand up, you're counted, you're, all of that, and then they turn around and arrest you for it. Then there's absolutely zero trust.
So I'm waiting for President Trump's, what I call his Andrew Jackson moment. Andrew Jackson was the president who ordered the removal of the Cherokee Indians, and the Cherokee, being very savvy, went to the United States Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in their favor and said they could not be removed, that they had a treaty with the United States government that was enforceable, saying they had this land, and Andrew Jackson said, well, the courts made their rulings, now let's see them enforce it, and they went ahead and removed them. And I feel like Trump feels the same way about the court rulings against him and DACA, right, that they're saying he can't do what he's doing to unwind DACA, and I'm waiting for him to just sort of put his hammer down and say, nope, the courts have made their ruling, I'm going to go ahead and deport these kids anyway.
Well, and so the rebellion from Andrew Jackson led to the Trail of Tears,
it did.
Which was a crime against humanity.
It was, yes, and I think this would be something equally heinous. And so I think it's going to be fascinating, though, to watch this play out. And I say that as sort of trying to be a dispassionate viewer of these activities, but it certainly is something that's weighing on my heart, right? Because I know these kids.
Yes,
I know these kids.
The reality is that most of us know these kids.
Yeah.
You just don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you start seeing stories of people being pulled out of their homes and shipped away repeatedly, this is it's going to affect people. You'll see.
So with that, it's time for another break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
What if I told you you'd never have to make a house payment again? What if you could pay off much-needed home repairs and even create an income stream based on the value of your home? If you're 62 years old or older, you could be eligible for a reverse mortgage. Call Tim Harrison and find out if a reverse mortgage is right for you. Call Tim at 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475.
Tim Harrison, branch manager, NMLS number 170960. Broadview Mortgage Corporation is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. License number 170952. Registered with the Nationwide Mortgage Licensing System and registry number 813B544. Broadview Mortgage, equal housing lender. Remember, if you never want to make a house payment again, except for property taxes, maintenance, and insurance, that's 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475.
This segment of programming sponsored by Cybertime Network Communications. How's your internet? Feeling boxed in with the high costs of the internet? Ready for a better internet service? Then you're ready for Cybertime. Yes, there's an alternative to those big corporate internet service providers. It's Cybertime Network Communications. Cybertime is so good, they provide all the connectivity for this radio station. Crisp, cool, fast, and sleek. Cybertime uses the latest leading-edge microwave technology. No wires, no cables, no sharing, and they're able to offer clients a safe, reliable, public or private network that fits almost any budget size. And several cities rely on Cybertime's microwave private network for their most critical mission applications. Get connected. Stay connected. Get smart. Get Cybertime. You can Google, text, or call Cybertime Network Communications at 909-795-9559. That's 909-795-9559.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
The waves keep on crashing on me for some reason.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. I am so excited, as I always am, to welcome to the show Dr. John Huber. He is a Texas-based doctor, is the chairman for Mainstream Mental Health, a nonprofit organization that brings lasting and positive change to the lives of individuals that suffer from mental health issues. A mental health professional for over 20 years, Dr. Huber is a clinical forensic psychologist, and he's a practitioner with privileges at 2 long-term acute care hospitals. Dr. Huber, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me on, Erin.
Okay, so I have to ask you, where in Texas are you?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Ah, what a great place. Are the bluebonnets in bloom?
Oh, they are. I mean, the bluebonnets, the Indian paintbrushes, it is just amazing. I'm getting ready to drive to one of the hospitals, and I get to drive through these fields of flowers for the next half hour.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I'm a Texas girl living in California.
Oh, man. Hey, but California's beautiful, too.
It is. It is. So to talk about, let's talk about mental health. What made you start this nonprofit?
Well, what actually made me start it was working in 2 medical hospitals and getting referrals from doctors to go in and see patients, and basically getting chewed out by patients yelling at me, "I'm not crazy," and things like that. And they're not. They're human. And when you're in a hospital for 2-3 weeks, maybe even the longest I've had there was 30 months, you start to get depressed. You're isolated. You're indoors. You're not able to do the things you want to do, and you're sick. So.
Wow,
It's
30
normal.
months.
30 months, yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow, that's a long time. So, I keep hearing stories that mental health issues have reached all-time highs, and especially among young people. So what can they do?
Well, I don't know if they're all-time high or we're just finally becoming aware and actually talking about it. We know with the millennial generation, they have the highest rate of suicide of any previous generation ever. And one of the things we can do is, as parents, we need to teach our kids coping mechanisms and coping skills. And that oftentimes is one of the hardest things to do because we want to protect our kids. But the reality of it is, when your kid's in 3rd grade, if they're getting themselves into trouble, or whether it's academically, behaviorally, whatever, sometimes the best thing to do is let them fail, then teach them how to learn from that failure, because that's when it's controllable by parents, but we want to protect our kids, so it's really hard to do that sometimes.
Well, especially in the era of social media. I mean, the kids are getting bullied, and it used to be you could see it. It was in front of you, or it was more open, and now it's all online.
Well, and before, when you left school, you left the bullying behind, and you went home and you had a safe place. Social media stays with you everywhere you are. The kids wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and they can't fall asleep. They turn on their social media and they can be bullied right then in the middle of the night when they're supposed to be safe and protected. And it's constant 24/7. So one of the things I recommend with parents is that you limit the time that your kids have on any kind of social media. And screen time is significant. We know that if you let them have more than 2 hours a day, that after that 2 hours, they start actually exhibiting symptoms of depression starting around that 2 hour mark. So less than 2 hours, if you're going to allow them to do it, is okay. You get over that, it starts teaching them how to be depressed.
Wow. 2 hours, that's the cutoff?
For social media type stuff, if they're working on reports and work activities, typing and writing and goal-directed behavior, it doesn't seem to affect them as much as that social media time. In fact, if they have 7 or more social media apps on their phone, they are 3 times more likely to be able to be diagnosed with major depressive disorder than the general population. So
let's talk about stress. You brought up homework, and so many young people and adults just seem stressed out. It's like everybody's burned out at the moment.
Well, they are, and what are we doing less and less? And that's getting outside, getting back to what we are, because ultimately we're biological animals, and we were designed to be hunter-gatherers, and being outside and spending energy, probably like a 10 or 15-minute all-out burst of energy about every 90 minutes to 2 hours throughout the day. And, of course, our education system's not built like that. And as we get older as adults, our bodies change, and we don't need that so much, but we still need to be outside because sunlight gives us so much as far as your body's ability to build and make neurotransmitters inside your brain, certain essential vitamins and minerals that are produced in the skin from sunlight. And what do? We lock ourselves inside in front of a screen and don't get that, and it's very important we do that.
That is so true. My husband and co-host is looking at me. He's a runner, and I'm the more indoors. Well, I like being outdoors, although I spend most of my time indoors.
So I've recently been reading about this thing called grounding, and it's this idea that you should not only be outdoors but take your shoes off and actually go walk in the grass. And I've been trying this after my runs, and I actually find it's even better. Like that, my legs recover better. I feel better when I actually just allow myself to sort of reconnect with the earth.
And the research on that is very interesting, and it's very positive, and it shows that there's actually changes in your brainwave patterns when you take those shoes off and you're in bare contact with the earth, whether it's the sandy beach or walking down, a path that's not paved, that's not man-made. And you're right, that is, man, I'm just trying to get people outdoors because they're not even doing that anymore. But you're right. If you're going to do it, get out there, be as barefoot as you can. There's more research down that road as far as looking at some of the nature's cultures out there where the sunlight and, totally asexual, nothing, pervert or anything, but how much more their brains have adapted and need less things like neurotransmitter, antidepressants and stuff like that. And then they tend to base their friendship off of core values of people, not on whether they have a Porsche or a Chevrolet.
Wow. Now let's talk about veterans a little bit. We have a lot of veterans in the area. We have a veterans hospital, a VA hospital, and veterans just seem to be having a much more difficult time coming home than previous. And I don't know if in previous wars, and I know there's always been issues, but maybe we're less supportive, or maybe the environment's not right. What can we do?
Well, one of the things that we can do is, you talk about being supportive. The thing is, they're very reticent to talk about their problems. They're taught in the culture of military that if you have mental health issues, you are obviously broken and a threat to your friends and family and your core team because of the type of environment they're in, with gunfire and like that, live battles. So they internalize that, and we do a good job of giving them boot camp and training them to follow orders and increase their survival their survival skills when they go to battle. But when we come back, we don't untrain that. And unfortunately, they walk out into society and they see a car broken down on the side of the road, and all of a sudden they start slowing down. They move into the farthest lane away from that car because in their mind that could be an IED or somebody getting ready to jump out from behind that car. And of course, they start slowing down and causing traffic, and people start cutting them off and yelling at them, and it just heightens their stress level. So as a civilian, it's really hard for us to understand their mode and how they shift into that protective survival skill when they're in the States and relatively safe. So my recommendation is encourage them to get together with other veterans and even other veterans of different wars, because they've all had the same similar type experiences, and encourage them to go and get therapy. Unfortunately, the VA is overwhelmed. The average wait to see a therapist from the day you ask for it in the United States is around 130 days.
Oh my goodness!
In some states, like I do this nationwide, so I get calls from Georgia, and some of the people there tell me it's up to 13 months to see a therapist, and we're losing 22 a day to suicide. And in some of the VA hospitals here in Texas, we've actually had people go in to see a therapist, get scheduled out, 90, 100 days down the road, go back in the parking lot, sit there for a few hours, and then finally take their lives right there in the VA parking lot.
Oh, my goodness.
So it is very troubling to me, and that's, we talked about why. Well, I started with the hospitals, but then I work with lots of veterans in my private practice, and my mainstream mental health has kind of evolved into trying to take on both sides of the story, not just for civilians, but veterans. And there's a Netflix movie that we were part of called Blood Stripe, and it's about a veteran who came home, a female veteran, who are actually less likely to go get help than male veterans, because none of the women that serve and went over there and fought want to be the reason why the government takes away the women's rights to go fight for our country.
Oh.
So they're less reticent than men are after they've been in battle zones and stuff.
So we are actually over time. This has been incredible. I want to have you back on. No, you're great. This is wonderful. So how do people get a hold of you, follow you, etc.?
Easiest way is mainstreammentalhealth.org, and we've got all our contact information, social media, all that. But we only have like 4, not 7, so we're good.
Awesome. Well, Dr. John Huber, this has been delightful. We're going to have you back on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it.
So we are completely out of time. Have a great day, everyone.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. President Trump is on Twitter this morning with a message. Attorney-client privilege is dead. This one day after the FBI raided the office, hotel room, and home of Trump's longtime personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal says he's concerned about the fate of special counsel Robert Mueller, given how upset Trump appears to be after the raids.
One of the really stunning points about that rant by the president yesterday, facing his generals there to talk about Syria, was the prospect of his firing Bob Mueller.
The raid said to be a tip from Mueller's investigators, but not directly connected to the Russia probe. Instead, they had to do with that hush payment made to porn star Stormy Daniels. And Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg expected to apologize